Hey everyone, welcome back. It's episode 53 of the Paddle Talk podcast here on WSDN. Grateful to have you along this week. Really looking forward to some great stuff. We got some really good content. First off, we're going to kick off the show with Sand Outlaw Series down in Glamis. So their race coming up. Next, we're going to move to racing incidents and recent events, so to speak. Where we talk about some recent things that have happened worldwide that we're connected to. And we're also going to talk 2025 schedules. Yes, there's already some out there. So we're going to talk about that, get you informed on places to race for 2025 and move along. So that being said, let's kick this thing into high gear. Remember, every episode of Paddle Talk is brought to you by Racing in the Dirt out of Cleveland, Wisconsin. From full turnkey rides to wheels, tires, and accessories, Racing in the Dirt, ready and willing and able to help your 2025 race season be the best that it can be. Contact them by phone Monday through Friday at 920-693-2000 or find them on the web, either Facebook or racinginthedirt.com. That's by phone 920-693-2000 or racinginthedirt.com.
Sometimes you need to shut your phone window.
Wow, Damian. Wow.
I can't help it. I'm recording in here. Yeah.
I still want
to home.
Okay. Have either one of you seen the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie?
It's
Brad Pitt.
been a while.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen the whole thing, but I've seen parts of it.
I've never seen it.
So one of the scenes is Vince Vaughn, and he's in his basement talking to them over the phone, right? And his mom yells down the stairs, and he picks up this gun. He goes, "Mom, you have no idea how close you just got to being shot right there. Just opening up the door. Leave me alone." And she goes, do you want toast or macaroni or something like that? Just two way opposite food groups. He goes, "Can I have some of both?" She goes, "Of course, dear." He goes, "Thanks, Mom. Love you." You know? Oh, my gosh. All right. We ready there, man?
Yep.
All right, let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Hey, everyone. We are starting off episode 53 of Paddle Talk with Sand Outlaw Series Glamis edition. And with me, as always, well, almost always, our West Coast correspondent, Caleb Mings, and our Midwest correspondent, Mr. Damian Bowers. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, Isaac. How about yourself?
Not bad. Damian, is it as cold there as it is here?
Probably not as cold as it is up there because we don't get quite as much issues from the lake, but it's been pretty cold this week.
It was 28 this morning when I walked outside. So, and that was at like...
It has been a little colder this week. Yesterday when I went to work, it was 16 degrees.
Ooh, yeah. So actually what's worse for us is when it gets somewhat warm, I say warm like that, then it makes a lot of snow and the lake gets cranking and, we'll get snow for 5 days in a row. So I know that's this white stuff that comes down, Caleb, if you're not
familiar. We're not familiar with that here in California.
You should feel blessed. All right, let's stay on topic. So Caleb, let's go straight into Sand Outlaw Series Glamis edition. What are we looking at here? And give us an overview to start, and then let's get into some results.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit different. We're not getting into the ski slopes. We're going to hit the sand dunes out there, Glamis, for the Sand Outlaw Series finals. This is their final race within their circuit. They travel all over the place. They do a combination of flat drags and hill drags. This is going to be a hill event. So they're actually racing out at Oldsmobile Hill. They are going to run approximately a 400 to 500 foot course. It does kind of change just depending on the shape of the hill. They are, what's one thing that's super cool about it, for any of you guys that have been out to Glamis, Oldsmobile Hill, not exactly the smoothest racing terrain. Gets very whipped out. And with the Sand Outlaw Series, the permits that they get, they block the whole hill off. And they have a snowcat that goes out there with a drag. They're going to go and drag the hill and be able to race that, like I said, probably 400 to 500-foot course. And it's going to be pretty cool.
I got to admit, from what I know of California, that sounds like a small miracle of feat right there, being able to bring a snowcat into drag. That is unbelievable. Damian Bowers, have you ever been to an event in the Midwest that you had to use a snowcat to fix the racing surface?
Not that I've been to. That we have had times at Last Blast where they've been staging in the snow.
This is true. Have you ever seen a snowcat?
Not once. When I was a kid, we went out to the we've got a small ski slope in Lawrenceburg, right around the Cleves area, perfect north slopes. So I've seen one, not much of it though.
Hey,
Fair enough.
They were great though for going out there in the dunes. You know, they tackle that just as well as they do go up the ski slopes. And yeah, it's going to be great. They're going to do it's just a 2-lane race for this. They are going to be doing test and tune on Friday. I will not be there for that, but going out on Saturday for the actual elimination rounds. So everything's going to be set up double elimination. They've got all their different classes running up there, and like I said, this is the final race of the season. So everybody's going for broke here. They want to put on a show, and one of the cool things is that they are unveiling a new class for the series. And this class is specific to the Polaris Pro R. Very popular platform. This is the 2-liter model that Polaris has come out with in the past few years. And basically, like, they've taken over a lot of the West Coast dunes. I'm sure that you guys see them out in the Michigan area around Silver Lake. And they're mean little machines, just stock. But these machines for the Sand Outlaw Series are going to try to keep this new class a little bit more friendly to the people that just have some faster built Pro Rs that are still dune vehicles. A lot of the Sand Outlaw Series UTVs are full-on race builds. You would not catch these things just going for a dune ride. They are straight hill shooters, and that's it. So they're allowing these Pro Rs to be turbocharged up to a 55 millimeter turbo, which is pretty big turbo for a stock engine. And they are allowing, some modifications, allowing you to do some internal builds and stuff. They just also announced a supercharger kit that they're going to allow in the class as well. But it's going to be kind of an interesting new addition to the Sand Outlaw Series. I'm excited to see how it breaks out. And then obviously they have the rest of their classes. They've got the Outlaw class, which is total rung what you brung. Very few limits on that. These are, the fastest hill shooters. So you're going to see a lot of Arctic Cat Z1 swaps, built Can-Ams. They've got the mod class, which is a 50 millimeter turbo limit. The Duner class at a 46 millimeter turbo, and then the Pro Stock class at a 43 millimeter turbo limit. And obviously some stair stepping with some additional modifications within that.
Sure. So predominantly side-by-sides or all side-by-sides?
All side-by-sides, yeah. So this is
awesome.
This is just side-by-sides, no bikes, no Jeeps, no sand rails. I know that they do, basically after they kind of tear things down, you get a lot of people are like, oh, sweet, I'm going to go tackle olds now that it's all flat and see what I can really do. But that's pretty much the only opportunity that other vehicle types are going to get to hit the hill.
Sure. Interesting. No, it sounds way cool. And what are our dates for this race?
It's coming up this Saturday, the 6th and 7th. So 7th is when I'm going to be out there.
Awesome. All right. So for those of you following home, December 6th and 7th at Glamis. More information, where can they go, Caleb, to maybe find something out?
Yeah, if you're looking for more information for it, check out the Sand Outlaw Series Facebook page. They've been posting up all the rules, including that new Pro R class. And as far as that, head out to Glamis. It's going to be at Oldsmobile Hill. Basically, you take the Sand Highway from the beach store, hang a left, and you'll find your way out to Oldsmobile Hill pretty shortly.
Awesome. I love it. All right. So, Damian Bowers, parting shot, thoughts on this race here?
It's going to be interesting, especially some of the level of machines you see running up such a notoriously rough hill.
Yeah, absolutely. And 400 to 500 foot, that's a whole kind of another side of this race. I mean, 400 foot, man, you get hauling the beans, I would think.
They get hauling for sure.
Start looking like them guys down in Australia running the 8th mile.
Right?
No, they do a very good job though prepping it, so it's a pretty smooth transition, and then they've got still plenty shut down because man, Olds it's a tall hill.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Caleb, I expect full coverage of not only results but of the Snowcat this weekend. So yeah, I'll be looking for that Saturday night. And for the rest of you, stay tuned. Caleb, depending on service, should be able to maybe get some live video possibly, or at least get some stuff up. So we'll see what happens. We'll do our best. And I know he'll do his best anyway. And really looking forward to it. So this is going to be one of our last races we're going to have some good coverage of for 2024. So looking to wrap up our year in style here. So, all right. So that is our coverage and lead in on the Sand Outlaw Series race down at Glamis coming up this weekend, December 6th and 7th, right there in Glamis at Oldsmobile Hill. And this segment is brought to you by Racing in the Dirt, Cleveland, Wisconsin. Did your year not quite go like you had planned? Well, Racing in the Dirt is here to help. From bolt-ons to full-on chassis builds, including tires, wheels, full turnkey cars to rolling chassis, you name it. Racing in the Dirt is here to get your program back on track for 2025. So contact the shop today or email or find them on their Facebook page. Again, racinginthedirt.com or find them on Facebook. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the podcast, episode 53. And our next segment we're talking about is a couple of, well, let's just say incidents from around the globe that have made their appearance on the internet and everything else. So with me again is West Coast correspondent Caleb Mings, our resident Midwest correspondent Damian Bowers. Gents, all right, let's start with our first one in Texas with the square body. Now, do we know who is actually wheeling this truck at that point in time?
From what I understand, that's Pancho Perez, a truck that, from what our Texas correspondent Jeremy Swanner has told us, just recently was rebuilt here in the last couple months, I think.
Okay, and we're going to insert the video about right here, hopefully, so that everybody else can watch it. So we'll give it a second. Do.
Now, if we really want to, eventually we'll have to figure out the whiteboard thing we can do like football plays with this stuff.
Right? No doubt. Okay. So basically what we're looking at is square body Chevy making a hit at this track. This is Edinburgh, Texas. And this thing goes for the biggest rail slide I've ever seen a full size do. I mean, let's just throw it out there, right? I mean, my word.
I feel like he got confused that this is not supposed to be Gymkhana. This is supposed to be a mud drag race. And he goes out there a 50-50 board slide with a pickup truck.
I actually thought maybe I had tuned in and caught some Tony Hawk X Games for a second, that he was going for like a rail grind or something, because that truck shouldn't do that. And the even crazier thing, Damian Bowers, how does no part of the driveline on that thing hook any of the uprights? I mean, if you look at the camera angle, you could see the uprights on the backside of the guardrail there. How does nothing hook that thing and just tear that thing up?
I must have just got lucky, or depending on what or how old them uprights are, he just might have just grazed the top of them.
No, definitely crazy. I mean, like we've seen accidents occur out of something like that. Just people hitting the guardrail. You know, whether it's kind of the old school guardrail with the steel panels, or if it's K-rail. We've seen people where they would hit something like that, and you're flipping. So
yeah.
I don't understand exactly, other than it just being a sheer act of God, that that Pancho is able to just drive it out of there without flipping, without, like you're saying, Isaac, tearing anything from the drivetrain that we can see in the video at least.
Okay, so that being said, there's multiple angles of this thing. Let's take a vote. Who's the luckiest guy in this video? Okay. I'll give Caleb Mings, I'll give you first shot. You get first pick at this.
Man. Well,
you got the first draft choice. Who is the luckiest person in this video?
I'm going to say the luckiest person in this video is our second angle of the guy filming way far back in the shutdown where there's no guardrail, because like I was saying, normally you'd see an accident like this, or not a near accident like this, that actually turns into an accident. And normally we would see that truck flipping down at the end of the track, right to about where that guy's filming. I mean, there's no guardrails there. It looks like from the other angle, we're seeing like there's just some trailers parked there, maybe some trucks. And I would say that where he's standing, he's the luckiest guy.
Fair enough. I like the idea there. Damian Bowers.
From a photographer's standpoint, I'd have to go with the guy right next to the guardrail, because one thing I learned a long time ago, if a car's coming at you, you don't run away from it. You don't run towards the finish. You run towards the starting line, because you're not going to outrun that truck. And this guy, the truck hit the guardrail, had it started endoing over the guardrail there, there's nothing he would have been able to do.
Yeah, that's true.
I would agree. All right. Well, my draft pick may surprise you a little bit. If you look at the one, the more traditional, we'll say, video, and if you look once the smoke starts to clear a little bit, and there's an enclosed trailer with the lights on in it, with a car, looks like maybe a Jeep or something like that, sitting outside half onto the ramp door. I'm going to go with that's the luckiest guy, because he's down past the guardrail, and that truck could have just as easily run into whatever's sitting there or the trailer, and there was nothing there to stop it. I mean, that thing could have tried to load itself in that trailer, and nobody was stopping that thing at that point in time. So how nobody got dinged up on this thing is unbelievable. Yeah, Damian, go ahead.
The truck rolled away as easy as it did.
Right?
No bent fenders, no visible damage. Obviously, the frame's probably a little tweaked, but it looked like he could have pulled out there and made another pass if he'd wanted to.
And let's give kudos. The guy in the other lane never lifted, like it phased him a bit.
Well, thankfully the truck was going away from him, not towards him.
I just think if you saw that the other lane, maybe you might lift, or take a quick stab of the brake or something to see how it pans out. No way, man. I mean, I don't know if this was a qualifier or what, but he was running like he was number 17, and they needed a pass to get in the show, and he was staying in it no matter what. Oh, my word. All right. So let's move on to our next one, which happened with our friends at the Qatar Race Club, I believe, is where this one is at. And
I'm going to give you first crack at pronouncing his name there, Isaac.
Oh, man. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me get it up here.
It's a long one.
We do apologize to our Middle Eastern friends for butchering names on this podcast, if you guys are listening.
That 100%. I mean, let's face it. We do our best. I'm serious, and we're not making light of it. It just, we do the best we can with what we have, and it is kind of what it is. So no disrespect intended at all. We're here to, report the as we see it type of thing. So, all right, I'm gonna give this a shot here a second. So, Alham Dulila. I don't think I'm that far off. Anyway,
Alhamdulillah, maybe.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah,
So
somewhere in there.
So from what I've seen, it's something with a turbo on it. It appears. It's a bunch of RPM. That I can tell you. Looks like possibly an LS based. So, and it looks pretty fast. I mean, I don't know what this thing normally runs, but it looks pretty quick. I gotta say. What do you think? Yes, Damian.
I've seen some videos of them. That class of truck, it's all two-wheel drive Toyota Hiluxes, big turbo V8s and 4 and 6 cylinders. I've seen some of them dip into the 3.6s with stock suspension.
Good gravy. So
talk about wheel speed.
I will say, not to again, this is no judgment zone, but the Jazz poly race seat with the funny car style cage is a nice touch, guys. Just throwing that one out there, but this truck, it looks like it is carrying the mail out the big end, and it looks to be they want to go to the right and maybe carried a little too much speed into there. Gentlemen, how do we feel about that?
I mean, my hot take with it, honestly, Isaac, is that, just looking at it, I think it's one of those cases of staying in it too long. We've seen plenty of racers do this in the past, and there is a limited amount of shutdown there.
Yeah.
So you start going and realizing, maybe I shouldn't have stayed in it quite as long, because that berm at the end of the track there, the Qatar Racing Club, it's coming up pretty quick. And it just looked like, it's pure sand that they're racing on there in Qatar. And, Alam, I'm just going to call him Alam. And he just got on there, found the brakes up, and it grabbed as he kind of started to skid a little bit to that right side there, and truck went over. And at that point, he's just a passenger.
I tell you what, the more I watch this video, that thing leaves hard. I mean, it like comes out of the hole like gangbusters.
I think there's a few of them running automatics, but for the most part, that class is still all clutch vehicles.
Wow. If that thing's got 3 pedals in it, that's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I mean, regardless, it's a big, big twin turbocharged LS there. And, like you're saying, Damien, that's a Toyota Hilux. They're not freaking big, heavy, full-size pickups.
Mm-hmm. Altogether, that truck might weigh 3,000 pounds.
I bet it's lighter than that. I bet it's breaching 2,500 pound range there.
But that class is wild to watch, because they'll even do that 600-foot hill climb with these same trucks, and will do a wheel stand 3/4 of the way up that hill.
What's crazy is too, after it squares itself up and it rolls over and it stops, it still doesn't look like it's that close to that berm down there. I almost feel like he had some room yet to turn and try to scrub off a little speed before he and the berm got real friendly down there. But yeah, definitely was in it way past the finish line. I mean,
what do we want to take a guess here? If we see the cones there, that's 300 foot. I'd say he's in it 500 feet, maybe 450 at least.
somewhere in there because it must have been one of them situations. It felt too damn good to lift.
Yeah,
I can
no, for
only
sure.
imagine that thing. That thing has to pull forever.
Damian Bowers with the Scotty Cannon quote right there. It felt too good to lift. If that's not American Pro Mod right there, I don't know what is. Oh my word.
Now,
But
just
the truck doesn't look too bad, honestly. I mean, yeah, obviously the front end's pretty squished on it, but just kind of looking at it, I mean, other than the body and the engine bay, the chassis looks pretty good. I mean, obviously he got out of it very quick, and
Very
I mean,
much so.
roll cage area and stuff, it looks pretty intact to me.
Yeah, and I didn't see it done. I mean, I didn't see any, actually, to be fair. I didn't see any like body parts or anything else flying off the thing. And the cage looks very intact. I mean, obviously, Funny Car Cage did its job and stuff. So, I mean, hats off to whoever put that thing together. I mean, it's a stout piece, and it looks possibly more cosmetic than anything else, as far now, I don't know how bad the turbo piping and the turbo and everything else are up front.
That looks a little squished.
Yeah, as far as the chassis goes, though, I mean, maybe it's messed up bad, but it doesn't, at least from this angle and from what we can see on Instagram, it doesn't seem like it's maybe as bad as it could have been for sure. So
time to start tubing some of the stock frame rails.
Yes, very much so.
I think it deserves probably a front half, and then I think they're ready to go.
Now, as a little, if anybody from the Middle East is listening here, we would love to actually get someone from over there to talk to about this, because you guys do this in a completely different way. You do this more akin to old mud racing from the 80s and 90s with a single lane of 300-foot sand. It's such a different type of thing. We would love to get someone that is able to either speak English or have someone that can translate for us onto this podcast, just to get some voices from that part of the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Or if there's somebody here in the U.S. that's maybe doing some fabricating and that sort of thing, we would love to get a little more in depth on this stuff. We see a very narrow sliver of what goes on over there, and we'd really like to see maybe a little more behind the curtain, so to speak. So if there's anybody out there that sees the podcast or hears the podcast, we'd love to talk to somebody. If you'd like to contact us through WSDN, that would be fantastic. So, all right. So I'll be honest, I'm just glad. Well, I'm not 100% glad. There is part of me that'd be really curious to see what that thing at Dukes of Hazzard off that berm, because I got a feeling just based on the height and the angle of that thing,
and the mile an hour of that truck.
I think he might be still in the air right now.
The word personal orbit, I think, may have come into play.
First Hilux into orbit.
Yes, exactly. So, oh man. All right. So those are the two latest incidents we've had to talk about this week. Like I said, with the racing season kind of winding down, we're getting into this kind of stuff and starting to look at it and that sort of thing. So that is going to wrap up the recent events. Yeah, that's an excellent way to put it there, Damian. Recent events section of the podcast. And remember, today's and most every podcast is brought to you by Racing in the Dirt of Cleveland, Wisconsin. From tires and wheels to drivetrain parts to rollers to full chassis builds, Racing in the Dirt is here to help your 2025 race season kick off and get going with a bang. So contact them either via the website at racinginthedirt.com, via their Facebook page, or you can look them up and give them a call. The number will be posted below. So again, Racing in the Dirt out of Cleveland, Wisconsin, ready to go to help your 2025 race season get going in a hurry. That's racinginthedirt.com. All right, everyone. Welcome back to our next segment of the Paddle Talk 53 podcast. With me is our West Coast correspondent, Caleb Miggs, and Midwest correspondent, Damian Bowers. And we are diving into our schedules now, talking about some of the race schedules that have already been released. We have one for Dome Valley have one for the Outlaw Sand Drag Series, which is a Midwest-based series. And we also have one for the MRA, the Mud Racers Association schedule as well, released. Plus, we have a couple other events that are either on the horizon or have been confirmed. So really good stuff to talk about. We're not even halfway through December and already starting to see kind of some 2025 plans come together. So we'll start with a West Coast schedule here. The Dome Valley Raceway schedule, located right outside of Yuma, Arizona. And Caleb, why don't you give us the rundown there?
Yeah, sure. So it's going to be 4 events there at Dome Valley Raceway.
Actually, hold on. It's actually going to be 5 events, but one true. with a different sanctioning body. So we'll
true.
Just
and
make
actually, we will have to go and find the dates for that real quick.
I have that one. If you want to go through the other ones. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go through the regular point series that they are going to be doing. 2024, we saw the first point series back at Dome Valley Raceway. A lot of buzz with that, and they're adding an additional race this year to the 2025 schedule. This is also probably going to be the first race, I think, that is on the calendar for the 2025 season. So we're going to be kicking it off in January with the Winter Shootout, going to be hitting Dome Valley the 17th through the 19th. Going to be a cold one, I'm sure, but definitely going to be fun to be back out there. I'm glad that it's not such a big break as well here on the West Coast. I know you guys definitely have a much longer wait, but we make up for it a little bit in the summertime because we don't like to race when it's too hot. So that's round 1. Round 2 is going to be the Arizona Sand Drag Shootout, March 14th, 15th, and 16th. And this is going to be a new one that they're adding in here for round 3. The April Sand Drag Showdown, going to be April 25th through the 27th. And they are going to be wrapping up their season with that point series for the Arizona Sand Drag Championship again in November, this time November 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Now, does that is that going to be points and a half at the end this year again, like it was this past year, maybe?
I know that they're talking about actually doing 2 events that are going to be points and a half. I have not heard which events those are. I would imagine the final one is going to be points and a half, and then we'll see where they're going to throw that. They might throw it in the first event of the year. They might be the last 2. We're going to have to wait and see where they're going to do that, but points and a half definitely shook things up for the championship hunt in 2024, and with 2 events like that, from what we're hearing reported, definitely going to shake things up for 2025.
Right on. And in case some of you are wondering, hey, I heard January, I heard March, I heard April. Why not February? Well, we have some news there. PSDA is going to Dome Valley February 4th through 8th, 2025 is going to be the big PSDA West Coast Shootout. So should be quite the turnout there. PSDA, as we've just wrapped up down in Gilbert, Louisiana. That is their next race right there in February. So really, tell you what, 4 months in a row racing at Dome Valley. No excuse, especially if you're in the Southwest, not to get over there and experience that, especially with SoCal, let's face it, racing there for right now anyway, kind of up in the air a little bit. So nice of Esteban and the crew there at Dome Valley. Get the schedule out early. Let people start making some plans. Very well done there, gentlemen. And good job on getting it out, early and ahead of time, so to speak. So, all right. Yeah. So where does that bring us next there, gents?
Let's set up the Outlaw Sand Drag series. Got their 2025 schedule going here. This is a traveling series, and
Damian Bowers, is this kind of in your? I see that's actually your background right now.
Yeah.
Without turning around, can you give us the dates and locations?
Unfortunately, the way it cropped out Franklin counties, but starting off as they have the last 2 years. IOK Spring Fling, May 16th and 17th at the home of Gravel Rama. Always a great start to the year. Race 2, Silverback, one of the largest races of the year, especially when it comes to top eliminator. Last year, on 24, I want to say, tried to run 24 cars in top eliminator at Silverback Off-Road Speedway. This year will be up there June 27th and 28th. And the series finale, again, moved to September like it was this past season. September 19th and 20th, the Franklin County Four-Wheelers in Brookville, Indiana. One of the fastest tracks in the country, proven once again by, we had another 20-plus car field at Brookville this year. So 3 races, 19 to 24 cars, I want to say, at each one in top eliminator, King of the Outlaws, 295 index, whatever you want to call it. Adam Rowe, your defending champion. Kathy Ellington trying to snag that away. She almost got it last year as they came down to a 3-way tie and they had to do a runoff for best package. You have the 450 class, the open bracket, the 4.0 and the 350 heads up classes are always wild ones to watch. And this past year, every race, it came down to one guy sitting on the side of the hill watching as everyone else was gunning for him, coming down to a round or two in almost every class for the points titles.
Yeah, it should be a really good race. The Outlaw Series is fast becoming known for really, really good racing and some very, very large car counts as well. So really looking forward to that. So especially Caleb Mings, I know you wish you could be back here in the Midwest for this.
I do. We'll see what happens with how the cards work out. I'd love to make it out to at least one of them at really any of the tracks. I've been to Gravel Rama once, but it would be awesome to go to Brookville. I know Billy went for the first time last year for the finals, and he had a great time there. Would obviously love to come and hang out with you, Isaac, too, up in Silverback. That's definitely one of those tracks on my bucket list.
Well, we can put a teaser in here. We may have an announcement for a race very, very close to the Outlaw Series race up at Silverback in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. And just saying, some of you guys there from SoCal that are looking to run some top eliminator stuff, you might be able to do it on back-to-back weekends and really make a trip out of it. Just throwing that one out there as a possible teaser. So, Damian Bowers, what are your travel plans related to the Outlaw Series?
I'm going to do my best to make it to all 3. We'll see what happens. Obviously, all depends upon the way the world goes, travel costs and whatnot. But we're going to look forward to trying to run the entire Outlaw Series. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it back-to-back weekends in Michigan. We'll find out as that goes along. But it's definitely looking like a fun year. I know Pruitt Scholes down there in Texas had mentioned he's considering running all 3 races this season. So, because he came to Brookville and just flat showed him how to bracket race at a 295 with that dragster.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And I think as that I tell you what, that 295 class, one of the more popular classes out there right now in all sand drag racing. And it's a class that translates very well no matter what track you're at. So really excited to see how that goes next summer. Adam Rowe, your 2-time defending champ now?
Yeah, I think 2 years in a row.
It might be more. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he has kind of taken that and been rolling with it with that little 4-cylinder dragster of theirs.
Absolutely. And you know what? I know there's a lot of guys gunning for him, but hey, man, you're either the man or you're not. I mean, and let's face it, for right now, the Rows are definitely the guys to beat in 295. So looking forward to a big turnout and big things from them. And let's just say, I don't think they're looking to go quietly off into the distance either. So should be really good. All right. So looking forward to it. That is, and if you're interested in running it or you got questions about classes or something like that, Damian, who's the main point of contact you would push people to if they've got questions about the Outlaw Series next summer?
Well, just for the basics for the classes, I always get asked a lot about it. But the main guys you always want to talk to are going to be Cody Trice, Dan Sizemore, Ryan Wilson. Them are the big 3 when it comes to running that series.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So that's your kind of your contact info for that. Let's move on to our friends over at the MRA. You saw our WSDN coverage from a lot of their races last summer, and they have put out their schedule. 5 events this summer, or should say summer of 2025. They are not returning to the Nebraska race, but they are adding a race more in the Midwest in Lyons, Indiana. So, Caleb, where are we starting with the MRA for 2025?
Yeah, so MRA, they're going to be heading up North Florida Motorplex, getting some of that sand action in Fountain, Florida, May 16th and 17th. And then once again, just for the folks that are not familiar with MRA, this is generally 200-foot track racing. They're racing for best time in the majority of their classes. I don't know off the top of my head if any of them are going to be shorter tracks, but I know that they typically try to hit that 200-foot mark. But yeah, they're hitting up Florida for the first event of the season.
All right. So second event of the season there, Damian Bowers. Where are they heading?
They're heading back to, honestly, one of the more picturesque tracks they go to all year. The Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags at Cook Station, Missouri. I believe that track is owned by the, I want to say, the Bonnickers, if I remember correctly. No? Who is it that owns that?
No, that is Greg and Elizabeth Booker are your hosts there at Upper Merrimack. And shout out to them again. Gracious hosts. Food is on point. Now, I'm just going to say, never been to any of the other places, but I'll say this. If the food's as good at any of the other tracks as it is at the Cook Station, Missouri track, that alone makes it worthwhile as a spectator to go. Just saying. And yes, Damian Bowers, you are 100% right. The picture and the scenery, Caleb Binks can even, I think, chime in on this deal. It's hard to describe. It's that kind of good.
It's a pretty place. It's kind of it's a little bit to get to. You got to go through some windy, backwoods roads and stuff. But yeah, I went there for the season finals last year, and it's going to be interesting. I think they're out there June 20th and 21st. How's the weather out there at that time?
So last year it was hot. Let me just say that. I sweat.
You
sweated a lot. I cooked. That's right. Thankful to my wife for stepping in at one point and saying, you need to sit down and have something to drink because otherwise you're going to just keel over at some point and have to take a time out. So yeah, it was pretty warm, but I tell you what, and they even said that was fairly abnormal. Normally it does not get that hot, down there that quickly, but the spectator count is something to behold down there, I must say as well. Yeah. Those guys down in Missouri love their drag racing and they love their big motor trucks and rails as well. So, all right. So then we encounter a new track, and Damian Bowers, this is kind of right in your backyard. They are headed to Wagler Motorsports Park in Lyons, Indiana. Now, Damian, why would somebody know that name if they're not maybe of the mud racing type there?
If you've heard of Wagler, 90% of the time it's about diesels. They've done a lot of work with Farm Truck and Asian, like on the big hearse 4-wheel drive that they put together. These guys know what they have. I believe it's called Put Up or Shut Up or something along them lines. They have a big event where you build a truck, drag race, sled pull, run it down the drag strip with a 20,000-pound trailer behind you, and dyno pulls. You guys have all seen the videos of the big diesel trucks on a rolling dyno, and the engine just blows the front of the truck apart. That's Wagler Motorsports Park's events. Though that's what they're known for. The mud drags, from what I understand, is going to be on the pulling track, so there should be plenty of hook there. Lots of clay, I would expect. It's about a 3-hour drive to the opposite side of the state from me. As long as everything works out, I would like to try and make it to that one.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's at least up here where I'm at in Western Michigan. It seems like everybody I know that does any kind of pro pulling league or Lucas Oil pulling or anything like that, NTPA, knows exactly where Wagler is and has been there. So should be very interesting. Really big multi-use facility. They've got what is it, an
yes.
8-mile drag strip. They've got this big tractor pull / dirt drag area. I mean, should be very interesting to see how it shows up. And very centrally located.
And another part with that pulling track, if they are running on it, the last time they ran on a pulling track was down at Galot Motorsports Park, and that was when they had the record reset by what was the old bounty hunter car running sub 2 seconds and 200 foot. If that gives you any idea about what a pulling track can do for hook.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that should be very, very interesting. So really looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing some of our friends with the MRA and see what kind of number they can put up there. So, all right. So next, it looks like they are
July
making
18th and 19th, Isaac.
What's that?
That's July 18th and 19th. So I don't think we
Correct.
said.
All right. Right in the middle of July there. So, then they're moving on back to DT's Dirt Drags in Gore Springs, Mississippi, August 15th through 16th. All you have to do is look on the internet, and I guarantee you're going to find some coverage from down there. They have some pretty decent social media out there and stuff. And DT's has some fast door slammer trucks. Some of the fastest in the country, I would even bear to say there. So, Caleb Banks, could we interest you in going to southern Mississippi in the middle of August?
Oh, that sounds like a trap. But I've done stupider things before, so.
I mean, can't be any worse than Cleves, can it?
I'm not gonna lie. I see August and Gore Springs, Mississippi, and the first thing that comes to mind is just swamp rot, and
first thing that comes to mind is I start sweating.
Exactly. Yes, I'm perspiring now just thinking about it. So, oh my word! But I tell you what, the sun goes down there, it starts to cool off a little bit. Those tracks start to get a little moisture in it, and the legend has it: the longer you can stay in the program, the faster you're going to get. So, and Billy, our friend Billy Teeters was down there last year and came back raving about how fast that track was. So Good to see those guys going back there, and really interested to see what happens. So, all right. And then they're going back to the Upper Merrimack Dirt Drags. So that gets 2 events for 2025 in Cook Station, Missouri there for their wrap up, the MRA finals, September 12th through 13th in 2025. So 5 events. Should be a really, really good schedule. And if you're interested in more info, you can check out their Facebook page, the MRA public page, or their website, www.mudracersassociation.org. So, all right, guys, pick a favorite. I'll give you a second to think about it. Pick a favorite MRA-wise to be a class winner or be a spoiler sometime in 2025. I'll give you a second to think about it.
I
feel like we've got a fair amount of, choices here. So, all right. Damian Bowers.
Open class. Kevin Harrison.
You just pick a class and pick a guy, driver.
Well, I'm not going to pick Kevin, but I'm going to pick his son in the truck because I love me some Outlaw Pro Stock.
Oh, yeah.
Vote for Will Harrison. I like it. That's fine. Will's a good guy, and I tell you what, man, he lets that truck do the talking, and it.
Yeah, he's the national record holder for Outlaw Pro Stock, so I think he's coming in 2025 pretty hot.
Well, and let's face it, he is still the only man to blow his own doors off. So I mean, you got that going for you, All right, Damian Bowers, who you got?
I gotta say, Kevin Harrison. He has been the dominant force in the last few years in the open cuts with that Eric Bidlack built race car he's got.
Ooh, I do want to give an honorable mention to Billy Fling because he's like the only altered in the open
Yeah.
class. And man, especially on cuts, I feel like he goes out there and he's showing these rails what's up.
I tell you, and I would agree. They seem to have the Cup program with that front engine car figured out. And more often than not, that car appears in the top 3 in that class all the time. And let's face it, just when you think, and I've heard it from other people, how you can't compete with a front engine car in open, you can't compete with a front engine car, and they're the rear engine cars are ways of the future and everything else. And yet Billy Fling and that team consistently perform at a high level. So yes, shout out to him. Love the Harrisons, the Harrison logging crew, Eric Bidlack, everybody involved with that. Great to see them. I'm going to go out and I am going to say, are we going to see continued domination out of Gage Lombazio in the super stock class? Because they flat out laid a whooping on that thing. If I remember correctly, they didn't lose a round till the very last race.
That's true. Yeah, between
something.
him and his dad, I know they shared some driving duties at one of the races in the middle of the season there. But yeah, it wasn't until the Upper Merrimack finals that they even lost. And yeah, that Gage is I think he's a little sour on that too. So I think he's going to come back swinging for the season opener there in Florida.
I'm not going to lie. That's a territory I'm not familiar with, going that long before losing a round. So I'm not quite sure how all that works, but I can imagine it would maybe leave a little bad taste in your mouth. And, let's face it, we all want to go out a winner at the end of the season, and to go the whole season without losing a round and then kind of, getting one squeaked by you there at the end. I could see where that would fuel you into coming back even more competitive on the next year. So, all right. So that wraps up our MRA 2025 schedule there. I believe, Damian Bowers, we have another one that you added down at the bottom. You want to tell us about that?
Just recently, and this is an event I tried to keep eyes on for years. It's hard to get any coverage out of this race. And recently, the guy who promotes it, Shane Nygum, who ran the Second Chance Mud Rail out of Canada at the MRA finale, puts on, and they do a 16-car elimination, all blower cars, 200-foot racing, Saskatchewan, Canada, Kindersley, Saskatchewan, Norm Nagai Memorial, World Series of Mud and Dirt Drags is what they're calling it, put on by Good to Go Racing, July 25th, 26th. They'd love to see us out there. If they can help us out with some travel, because that is out in the middle of Canada.
It's a bit of a doozy, yeah.
It is in the center of Canada. It's in the center of racing season, but they have some of the fastest blower cars in the continent. Can't say country on that one.
Like 3 or 4 blower cars down for the Merrimack finals, and they put on a show. So
the Nagai racing cars, I know for a fact, they are the former Mark Lee, known as Mark the Shark Lee, and he was running 2-1s, 2-0s 15, 20 years ago with these cars in Pro Bad. He was Mike Lane's #1 rival. Supposedly, they tested it at some 300-foot quad track in North Carolina, and it ran in the 2.7s. I have never seen any video or any confirmation of this, but they run big Hemis, big PSI, the biggest screw blowers you can get.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if nothing else, the East 40 Motorplex, I love it, man. That is just a great track name. Which place do we go to? We're going to the East 40 Motorplex. Oh, it's not the back 40? No, it's the East 40,
And it is nothing as far as the eye can see, flat Canadian farmland. And some of the baddest cars on the continent. You got that black semi-body truck that came down to the finale, probably going to be out there.
Cool.
And there's some cars that's got some history up there. There's Mud Hen Racing. One of the cars used to be from the 90s. I don't know if it still runs, but it's been for sale for a while. That used to be Wayne Scott's. I can't remember the name of it, but it looked like an old super modified.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting, and that is that's definitely could be a very, very interesting race. So looking
Yeah,
forward
we're
to
definitely
seeing
going to try to make it out there. And as Damian said, I want to reiterate this. We're talking 200-foot mud racing, all blower cars, actual eliminations.
right.
16
Yes.
car NHRA style ladder.
Yep.
So, hey, if anybody down here in the lower 48 has a blower car with 4-wheel drive that wants to go show what they can do, I know a few that run in the sand around this area that would be a good contender just on the way they're set up.
Absolutely. Paging Kyle Farwick. Kyle Farwick. Tower, please. Kyle Farwick to the tower. All right. That would be something, I gotta say. So
oh man.
All right. So I think that kind of wait a minute. No,
we got one more.
Another race that popped up just today.
Yeah, literally just got, and as we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yes, we are recording this on Tuesday. If anybody's wondering, this is a race that popped onto my feed actually tonight, just before we went to air. March 8, 2025, the Keys Peak Uphill Truck Drags. For those of you that are unfamiliar with that, Keys Peak is a ski slope over in Wisconsin, Florence, Wisconsin, if I remember correctly. And they host a one-day side-by-side elimination style truck drag race in the snow. And you will see former people that have been there. Mr. Jason Vanderwall with the Hysteria truck has been there. The Wine Time Jeep of Todd Bilesma makes an appearance there. Actually, Michael McCord and the Karen truck even made an appearance there, I believe, last year. So this is not slow stuff by any imagination. In fact, you see a lot of the same guys that show up for the Hayfield Shootout that we covered back in September also make the trip kind of up and over Lake Michigan, if that makes sense to everybody, into Wisconsin. Believe it or not, it's easier to go up and around through the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, for those of you not familiar with our layout here. So we've got two pieces of land instead of just one. Eat your heart out. But anyway, and go around the top of the lake and actually come back down into Wisconsin. So should be a great race there. Ray Mills and that group really do a great job. And when it gets closer, maybe we'll have Ray on and we can talk about that a little bit. So, so we know Caleb and Snow are not exactly familiar with each other. So, Caleb Mingzo, would you bring your bike to a race like this to run?
Oh no, I'm not going up any
snow-covered hill.
No. I've seen people out there. I don't got any suspension there, Isaac. I as much as I'm sure it would be a hoot, and there's thousands of people that'd be cheering me on there for the Keys Peak hill drags. I'm gonna have to sit this one out.
Do you think you could even get it to start and idle in that weather?
Yeah.
Change. With enough ether, any two-stroke will start.
That's true. I'll need a couple extra cans, but I think we can do it.
About 20-minute warm-up.
They got the snowmobiles run out there?
That's right. Absolutely. You know, and if you think about it, it may be our second appearance of a snowcat at one of the races we go to this. Oh, man. All right. So that looks to be a great time. Anything else, gentlemen, that you know of? We kind of hinted at a race. We are kind of waiting confirmation on a date. I know Dave Applegate and the Southern Power Sports Drag Racing Series also has some dates, but I don't know if we are free to share those yet. So we'll wait till Dave chimes in and brings that up. Anything else you guys can think of?
I know we're waiting on currently Franklin County. IOK four-wheelers with the Gravel-Rama schedules and whatnot. Lisbon and Texas Mud Drags, they're looking to have more than just the 4 races this year. And I've heard a few rumors of Silverback on there. Franklin County might be coming back. They're looking to travel a lot more this year.
Yeah,
Very
that
cool.
could be quite something of seeing Texas Mud Drags up here in Michigan at Silverback. That could be quite the weekend, I've got to say.
Convince them to have a Friday night PTN Elite versus Door Slammer.
Ooh.
Ooh, hey now, that's
Oh, dang it, Damian. You got Isaac's wheels turning now.
I like what I'm hearing, so should be very interesting. And 2025 already looking like a heck of a year. And we're not even halfway through December of 24 yet. So can't wait. So, all right. Caleb Mings, I believe you have an ad read to move us on to our next segment.
Yeah, I want you guys to go and visit this cool little website. It's called worldsandragnews.com. Once you get there, once you go and click on the Photos tab, there you're going to find all of our photo galleries from the entire 2024 season. We got a few more galleries going up for that that we're finishing up. And you can visit all of our past galleries. We're loading up the archives. We're going back to the inception of WSDN, trying to load those galleries up there. All of them, you have the option to download a free watermark version of any of our photos, as well as purchase digital downloads or print options. We've got canvas prints, we've got art prints with and without frames, and we've got metal prints that look pretty cool. So go and visit worldsandragnews.com, click on that photo tab, and purchase a photo. It's one of the best ways to support World Sand Drag News and what we do here covering this great sport.